What's up, guys? Welcome to Culture Uncut. I'm your host, Jason Spears, and I wanted to have a conversation or talk about Anthony Richardson. There's been a lot of discourse on Twitter or X about Anthony Richardson's play, a lot of negativity, a lot of people frustrated, impatient, and I kind of wanted to share my thoughts on why I have the position I have on Anthony Richardson, which is he needs to play, and I want to see him play this year next. And then if nothing changes or whatever, then we'll go in another direction. I just wanted to share my position on why I feel as strongly as I do about this kid and where we're at and what we're doing with him. First of all, Andrew Luck retired in 2018. Since then, we've drafted Jacob Eason, who I'm not even sure is still in the league, and Sam Ehlinger, who is our third-string quarterback. Also, since then, we've had Jacoby Brissett. He went 8 and 9 or 7 and 9. That's when we were playing 16 games. Jacoby Brissett 7 and 9. Phillip Rivers 11 and 5. Carson Wentz purgatory 9 and 8. Matt Ryan, horrible, 4 and 12. Nick Foles, Sam Ehlinger year. And then last year, Minshew, purgatory again. First of all, my question to the fan base is, do you want to just continue this where we win 9 games, don't make the playoffs, or 8 games, and then pick like 14 or 15? Do you just want to keep doing that? Playing old guys and being completely screwed because we're playing just well enough to not make the playoffs, and then also, not bad enough to pick high in the draft. You want to continue that? I don't want to continue that. I'm tired of the Band-Aid quarterbacks. And it's funny because I guarantee you some of these people bitching about Anthony Richardson are the same people that were bitching about Band-Aid quarterbacks. We all knew when we drafted this kid, he was 21 years old. He played, 13 games at Florida? And you knew this was not going to be an overnight development. It was going to take time because of how raw he is, how inexperienced he is. It was going to take patience and understanding, which nobody has in this fan base. Nobody. You sat through Matt Ryan, Sam Ehlinger, and Nick Foles, the corpse of Nick Foles. 17 games. This kid's played 9, and you're ready to bail already? And people are like, well, he's in his second year. No, I don't care about how many years it is. It's games. He's played 9 games. You want to bail on him after 9 games. It's like that scene in Ferris Bueller. 9 times, except it's 9 games. That is insanity. Absolutely insane. Let me talk about a few things that I think people forget. At the start of last year, before he got hurt, he played relatively well, better than he's playing now. He had a decent game against Jacksonville. He looked exceptional against Houston. And the game that nobody really talks about, that opened my eyes to this kid, was the Rams game last year. They lost. He didn't play well in the first half. But if you go back and watch that game, this is the Rams team with Matt Stafford and Aaron Donald and, other good players. They were down 23-0 in the second half. And he brought the Colts all the way back to tie that game. Now, they didn't win it, but he brought them back, down 23 to, I think, a playoff team. I can't remember if they made it last year or not. I think they did, and they lost to the Lions in a close game. That was a playoff team. They were down 23 in the second half. He led a comeback. That is so unspeakably difficult to do. I don't know how many young quarterbacks in their first 3 games have ever done that. Overcome a 23-point, or at least tied the game. He didn't overcome it because the defense was Swiss cheese and immediately gave up points in overtime, and they lost, I think, a touchdown in overtime, and they lost. But nobody ever talks about that game. And the reason why I bring it up is that is the potential. That is the type of thing that is rare. You look at a game like that, a game like Houston, and you tell me this, you don't see any potential with this kid? Like, you see the Pittsburgh game. You don't see any potential here. There's nothing. He has nothing. Just anybody can come back down 23-0 against a good team, a playoff team, in their first 3 games. Anybody can do that, right? It's just dumb luck because he's a bum. No, he's not a bum. He was getting in his groove, and he played his ass off in that game, and that is the potential of this kid. And it's why you have to play him. That type of experience helps build confidence. When you get confident, you play better. Now, obviously, this year has gotten off to a rough start with the injury and just the inconsistency. And I understand people being impatient and being frustrated. I get frustrated with him too. He played very poorly in the last game. Okay, he's definitely been struggling. But you have to see the big picture. First of all, what's the alternative? Joe Flacco, we win 8 or 9 games, and again, we're in purgatory. And then what are we doing next year? Are we playing Anthony Richardson again? People want him to sit and watch. He sat and watched all last year. He has to play. And he's on a team, on an offense, that is set up for him to play. The times that I don't want a young quarterback to play, is when you don't have a good offensive line, or you have 0 skill players to take the pressure off of the quarterback. This is the exact time for Anthony Richardson to play. We have a good offensive line. We have good receivers. We have a great running back. Obviously, he hasn't played. Hopefully, he comes back this week, because I do think that makes a big difference in the amount of pressure that's on this kid. But you see, the highs of what he did, those throws he made against Houston in the first game. If the defense could have just gotten a stop, what would the narrative be if he leads a game-winning drive in that game? Would it be any different? He takes us down, we get a field goal win, and then we're what? 5-2 instead of 4-3, and we're talking about people. National media is talking about Joe Flacco, and our fan base talking about Joe Flacco. The game. It's a game of inches, man. It's a game of inches, and things could be so much different. You have to understand the amount of injuries this team has had, and him included. And here's the thing. I'm tired of the Band-Aids. I want to see this young guy play. He's a high-character player. He works his ass off. He's accountable. Those things, if you don't think those things matter, they do. They absolutely do. This isn't Jamarcus Russell, where the guy says, take this disc home and tell me which plays you like, and then he brings it in the next day and he asks which plays he likes, and he says all of them, and there's no plays on the disc. This isn't that kid. This kid is working. He's busting his ass to get better. And I truly believe that when you work hard, you're accountable. It's only a matter of time until you get better, especially when you have the talent this kid has. It's only a matter of time. Is it a guarantee that he's not going to be a bust? No, absolutely not. Nothing is guaranteed except death and taxes. Anthony Richardson's success is not guaranteed. No player that you draft is guaranteed to be good. Jaden Daniels is an outlier. He just is. Remember, Caleb Williams, we played them. We beat them. Anthony Richardson was our quarterback. Caleb Williams was their quarterback. Okay, so listen, I get it. I get the frustration. I understand, when he overthrows guys or whatever. It's frustrating, and we all want it's win now, and we all want everything now. But he's got to play. The only other option is playing Joe Flacco, and then what? Doing this again next year? No, that's dumb. You have to think long term, broad, big picture. Okay? And then the other alternative is just, cutting him, and then what? We're just going to draft quarterbacks every year till we find Jaden Daniels? I got news for you. Those guys they're not growing on trees. So, I mean, I'm just frustrated with this fan base, because you would think out of every fan base, ours would understand why we need to be patient with this kid, because we couldn't keep doing what we were doing. It was the definition of insanity. Just old guy after old guy. Keep the treadmill going. Like, no, we're done with that. And I wish we would get behind, AR and support him instead of like talking bad about him and disrespecting him and saying he's a bum and all this other stuff after 9 games. 9 games. In those 9 games, he had that 23-point comeback. He beat Caleb Williams. Even though you're going to say he played bad, he did enough to beat Caleb Williams. They scored enough points to win. Okay? He played a great game against Houston when he was in there, Pittsburgh. So this narrative that there's been no flashes of potential and he's just all bad all the time is garbage. Garbage. It's just simply not true. And even if you look at this last game, which I did he play great? No, he did not play great. But some of that was play calling. Some of that was guys dropping balls. The biggest thing to me with him in that last game, you would say we won in spite of him. I disagree. I totally disagree. Because generally speaking, when young quarterbacks are struggling, they press and press even more and start turning the ball over. He doesn't do that, and he didn't do that. And that's the reason why we won this game. He didn't take any sacks. He threw the ball away when he was pressured. He didn't have any turnover-worthy throws. That's the game. The difference in the game was turnovers. We got 2, they got 1, and that was the game. And yes, he did fumble the snap, and that has to be improved. I think that they will get that fixed, and it won't happen again, or at least it won't happen often. I think that was an outlier. But as far as throws go, there were no, like, what the F, like, he threw it straight to the other team. No, he didn't do any of that. That's a positive. You can say what you want about his completion percentage. The fact that he didn't have any interceptions or put the ball in harm's way when he was struggling, and every young quarterback, when they're struggling, tends to press. Think Caleb Williams against us. He threw 2 picks because he was pressing. That goes unnoticed. But it counts. He didn't make the back-breaking interception. He's not Will Levis. Will Levis played in college, and he turns the ball over like it's his job. This kid didn't really play in college, and he's taken better care of the ball. He had the bad game at Green Bay, but he took care of the ball in this game and helped us win by running and down the stretch. At the end of the first half and down the stretch of this game, he was at his best. When there was like 50 seconds left, he got us down the field to get the field goal at the end of the half, which was huge to get us some momentum. And at the end of this game, he got us down the field, 5 of 6. We got some more points. We end up winning the game. They had to score a touchdown. We end up winning it. You've got to look at the big picture, but you also have to look at the little things. The little things like not turning the ball over, not making stupid throws, not pressing. He didn't do that. And you take small victories with a young quarterback like him. And, I understand the fan base. I understand the frustration. I understand we've been through the ringer with the quarterbacks. I get it. And we're all sick of losing. We're all sick of not going to the playoffs. Here's the thing. Is he definitely going to be a stud? I don't know. No, he's not. I mean, it's not a guarantee. No. Is he going to be a bust? He might be. I can't say that for sure. I don't know. But here's the thing. You got to let him play. You got to let him develop. That's how players learn, by playing. He's got a good cast around him. And I just think the more that he sees and the more reps he gets, the better he's going to get. And so I brought up John Elway as an example on Twitter, and people lost their mind. Okay? Let me clarify what I meant. with the John Elway comparison because people were losing their shit. I wasn't talking about the style of play, or everybody's telling me, well, it was different then, the rules were different. Of course they were. The rules were different. It's a lot more offensive-minded now. You couldn't do all the things you can do, you can't press like you could back then or bump and be physical and do all those things. I understand that. But that's not what I was saying. What I was saying was, if you go back, and I have, and watch John Elway's games from 1983, he had the exact same issues that AR has, except he threw a ton more interceptions. And the reason why he had the thing is they both are athletic, and the reason why I made this comparison is because they're both athletic and they both have cannons for arms. Now, Elway played more in college, so he's further along. But he stunk his first 10 games of his career. He was benched multiple times his first year for Steve DeBerg because he was so wildly inaccurate and his mechanics were out of whack. Mechanics leads to inaccuracy. They've got to get AR's mechanics, and they've got to get them right. That'll lead to more completions. Also, being comfortable in the offense will also lead to more completions. But the main thing I see with them, the similarity that I see, is the arm strength and the ability or inability to know when to use touch. Elway's first year, everything was 900 miles an hour. Everything, screens, short passes, intermediate stuff. Everything was just whistled in there. He had no touch, but they let him play, and he worked through it and developed into a Hall of Fame quarterback. Now, again, I am not saying that Anthony Richardson is going to be John Elway. There's only one John Elway. He's not going to be John Elway. But what I am saying is, if Denver's fan base felt like we did, or treated John Elway like we treat Anthony, we booed him at the other game. I don't know what it is with his fan base and booing quarterbacks. I don't get it. But look, Elway's first 10 games were worse than Anthony Richardson. They were. He played much worse. And it did nothing to his career other than made him work harder. He got better. He became one of the arguably top 5 quarterbacks of all time, definitely top 10. And again, Anthony Richardson's not going to be that. I don't think that he's going to be that. But my point to the whole thing was that players can develop. He's not going to develop in the John Elway, but they can develop touch. They can improve their mechanics. They can do all kinds of things. Touch and mechanics have nothing to do with the style of play. It has to do with the quarterback himself and learning when and when not to put more on the ball, take something off of the ball. That only comes with the experience of playing. And he's got to play. I don't want to sit through Joe Flacco just to play him again next year and start this all over again and then the fan base bitching for the backup quarterback. And this isn't anything against Joe Flacco, but the upside with this kid, you have to play it out, let it play out. You have to let him play and let the chips fall where they may. If it doesn't work out, Ballard will be gone, Steichen will be gone, and AR will be gone. Okay? I know a lot of this fan base is tied to Chris Ballard getting fired, and half of them that are rooting, seemingly rooting against Richardson, are just rooting for that so that Chris Ballard gets fired. I'm over that. I'm sick of that. I just want to win. I want this kid to be the right guy. I want him to be the guy. And he very well could be, but you've got to give him the chance to play. I want to see him play this year. I want to see him play next year. I'm more concerned about the injury stuff than I am about the development at this point, to be quite honest with you, because I do think if he stays on the field, he's going to develop. I truly believe that. Now, I might end up being proven wrong. That's my belief. I believe in the talent. I believe in the film as far as, the pre-draft stuff. You could just see there's something different about him. And I do think the accuracy is going to get better. This is a chunk play offense. He's never going to be a 70% quarterback. That's just not the style of offense we run. We run a big play offense with a guy that can stretch the field with his legs and his arm. And so that was the John Elway example and why I used it. Not because I think he's going to be John Elway or I'm comparing the defenses that he's playing against or anything like that. It was simply about mechanics and the completion percentage, mechanics and all that stuff all goes together. And the, completion percentage, the touch on the football that Anthony's got to learn to have, and all those things, it all goes together. And I think he had like a 47% thing his first year. I mean, I understand the argument about the defenses and all that, but I'm strictly talking about mechanical flaws and touch. He can make all the throws. AR can make all the throws. He just has to play. And I just really wish the fans would get behind him and just, understand, like, this guy's working. He doesn't want to suck. He's a good teammate. He's accountable. Like, I sat through a lot of bad quarterbacks. I'm not going to go through it. I'm old. But a guy that came into the league that was the first overall pick with the arm, the best arm, one of the best arms you'll ever see, Jeff George, he was the exact opposite type of person that Anthony Richardson was and is. And he got 3 years, I think, 90, 91, 92, 93. He got 4 years. We stunk in 90. We won, I think we won 7 games in 90, 1 in 91, 9 in 92, and 4 in 93. He got 4 years. Now, this is a different time, but that guy blamed everybody but himself for everything. He had no accountability. He always blamed the offensive line or the receivers. He was not a good teammate. He was just generally hated by everybody that played with him. He was not a smart quarterback. He didn't work hard. He's been like, the best description I've ever heard of him was a $1 million arm at 10-cent head. AR's not that. He works. And I truly believe at the end of all this, it's going to pay off. But you have to let it play out. I would rather let him play right now, suck this year, next year, and then have to draft another quarterback than to play Flacco, win 9 games, not go to the playoffs, go into next season, and then sit through. It's just going to extend out. Everything is going to be pushed back. So then you're playing. So no, we're not doing that anymore. He's there as an insurance policy. If AR gets hurt, you have Flacco to play. If AR doesn't get hurt, then you're going to see development. And if he doesn't develop, then we'll get another quarterback. So it's really a win-win. He plays, and we see what we have. If he doesn't play, then everybody's favorite quarterback, the backup, will play. But I want to see the kid play no matter what happens. That's the right move. That is simply the right move. And you let him play it out. He's got to get better. You've got to see some level of production and increased development. But I truly believe you'll see that. But it's not going to happen overnight. And you just have to believe in the process of developing the quarterback. Because again, he's super inexperienced. He's 22 years old. He's just got to get experience. And the only way to get that is playing. And he's got the right cast of people around him offensively. He's got a good offensive mind and a good offensive coordinator. They've got to do a better job of giving him confidence early in games by giving him some easy throws. And I don't think they did that against Miami. And again, Miami had the number one passing defense. They've given everybody problems. So, that's a thing too. You have to give credit to the Dolphins defense and their coordinator. They did a really good job against Richardson and our offense. But they've done that against everybody. I mean, they did it against Josh Allen. So, I've seen too many potential flashes in this guy to bail on him after 9 games. I'm just not going to do it. And it doesn't, again, it doesn't guarantee anything. Doesn't guarantee he's going to be good. Nothing is guaranteed. But the process is you play the guy, get him experience, and you find out what you have. This team was not going to win a Super Bowl with either Flacco or Richardson because the defense is trash. That's just a fact. The defense is not good enough. So it doesn't matter, really, who you play at quarterback. We might win, 1 or 2 more games with Flacco, maybe. But again, if he's playing in that game against Miami, he probably gets killed. I don't know how many times he gets sacked in that game. So that's my defense of playing him. I don't want Band-Aids. We have a quarterback with potential right now. I'll take that over the 1 or 2 extra games we'll win with Flacco. To worsen our draft position, and not make the playoffs. Or maybe make the playoffs and play 1 game. I would rather play AR. And I'm going to support him for at least 2 years, this year and next year. If he's not shown anything by then, we'll have the conversation. But to all these national media people, too, are not helping by saying, I don't understand why they're playing Anthony Richardson over Joe Flacco. That's ridiculous. You don't understand. We picked them in the top 5, for Christ's sake. We're going to play the young guy. Like, they're acting like the Colts are this juggernaut team with Joe Flacco in there. We lost to the worst team in the NFL, or one of the worst teams in the NFL, at the time they were the worst, with Joe Flacco because our team is not good. Or at least it's okay. It's one of the blah teams in the NFL. There's a bunch of them. There's only a few good teams, honestly, but we're not one of them. And you're going to see that when we play these next 4 games. I have a hard time seeing us beating any, Detroit, Minnesota. Houston's different because that's a divisional game and we always play well there. But if we beat either Detroit or Minnesota, I will be stunned. Because those 2 teams are really, really good. They're dominant. Detroit's dominant. Like, on both sides of the ball. Even without Aiden Hutchinson. So, those are my thoughts on Anthony Richardson, why I would play him. I don't want to do the treadmill anymore. Again, we've been through the old guy thing. It just lands us in purgatory. I would rather lose every game that we play with Anthony Richardson than win 8 or 9 games and be picking 16th or whatever and not make the playoffs. That's happened twice with this team. And I don't want there to be a third time. I just want the young guy to play, and I'll live with the results. Because I do think at the end of the day, the big picture, I think it'll be worth it in the end. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll eat my words. But I don't see any argument for not playing him. Because I've heard people say don't play him, sit him, let him watch. He did that last year. We don't need that again. We have two, and we've got a good roster around him as far as offensively. Let him play. He's got to play. We get Taylor back. I think that takes a lot of pressure off of him, and I think that's when you're going to see AR at his best. When we got 28 in the backfield, I think he's going to get better, and he's going to play a lot better than he's been playing. But you have to be patient. You can't expect miracles. You can't expect him to turn into Cam Newton overnight or whoever overnight. It's not going to happen. It's going to take time, and we have to be patient with him. I mean, you don't have to be patient with him. I've seen a million people bitch and moan about him and talk about how terrible he is on Twitter, so I guess you don't have to be patient with him. But I am going to be patient with him because I understand the process, and I understand, why this needs to happen, and I believe in the process with the people that we have in place, and I believe in the player. I believe in the player. And so I'm okay with sitting through some bad games. I'm all right with it. I just want to see him get better. And I think you'll see that. I just hope he doesn't get hurt. That's my bigger concern. So I just wanted to pop on and share my thoughts on this because it's been a hot button topic. I mean, the national media, when they talk about the Colts and they talk about Flacco playing, is really doing a disservice to Colt fans. Really, a complete disservice. First of all, it might be arguable if we had a good defense, like a legitimately good defense, and maybe I could see it, maybe. And then you think, okay, with this one guy, we'll be a Super Bowl team. Then I can have the argument then you can have the argument. And then I could see it at least a lot more than I can see it right now. But the Colts are not a Super Bowl team. They don't have a good defense. It's just as simple as that. So you play the young player. You don't take a guy in the top 5 and don't play him. You just don't. You play him. This isn't Carolina where Bryce Young had no offensive line, no wide receivers, no running game. He's got everything he needs. That's why I believe he will get better. So I hope people will understand where I'm coming from and why I'm passionate, because I just don't understand why this kid gets so much hate or whatever, criticism when he's so young and inexperienced. He's got to develop. It's going to take time. It doesn't happen overnight. I understand the frustration and all that stuff, but look, we've sat through the corpse of Matt Ryan, Sam Ehlinger, and the corpse of Nick Foles. We can sit through this. We can sit through this. We can make it through this. We haven't been to the playoffs since 2020. Okay? We can make it through this. And I believe in the kid. I just do. I know I'm one of the few, but I do believe in him. Doesn't guarantee anything. And he still could be a bust. It's all possible. But you got to give him a chance to develop. That's the way, that's how players get better. He's not going to get better sitting on the bench. He's not going to get better playing in practice. He's got to play in games. And I just truly believe he'll make the jump. Just have to be patient and have belief in the guys we have in place to coach him. And I think having Flacco actually is a really big help for him too. I think Flacco's been a great teammate and tried to help him as much as he could. And I think that's going to help him. I think having a guy like that in the room is incredibly important. So that's all I got, guys. I'm sorry if I was a little long-winded, but I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts. And even if they're a little bit rambling, I wanted to give my feeling on why I think he's going to be good and why he needs a chance to develop and what I believe the future holds if he is given that chance. So thank you for listening. I hope everybody is having a good day. I'm excited about this weekend. Houston is usually pretty good to us. We play well down there. So I'm excited about the game. Hopefully we'll get some guys back. I might come back and do a show before Sunday, maybe like a Q&A or something like that if you want. Maybe, but if not, I will talk to you guys Sunday after the game here on Culture Uncut.